And we're back, Stripe Show podcast on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day as we come on here on a Tuesday. There is news breaking all over the place. Brooks Koepka, I should say. Brooks Koepka has committed to the LIV Tour, LIV Series, LIV Exhibition, whatever you want to call it these days. He is gone. He has signed. I think he's still in the Travelers Championship this week. We'll see how that plays out. I know there was a players-only mandatory meeting up at TPC River Highlands this morning where the players were there. The commissioner, Jay Monahan, addressed them. I think he'll be addressing the media here this afternoon as well. Scott Stallings, he's in that meeting. He'll be joining us tomorrow, so don't miss the Stripe Show podcast tomorrow. Scott Stallings in the field, in the meeting, and hopefully can shed some light on what that meeting is all about as chaos continues to hit professional golf. The quote, the dark cloud, as Brooks Koepka put it last week, as we were just all taking up his time talking about it. And of course, he was already committed, and he'll be playing in the next LIV event in Portland, which happens, I believe, next week. And so that'll be interesting as their roster continues to improve. Dustin Johnson, of course, Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka, and Abraham Answer. He committed over the weekend. Rumor was swirling around Colin Morikawa. He put it into it on Twitter as he'll be staying put on the PGA Tour. And I think we'll be getting some insight here before we bring our guest in, that there will be a different kind of series even for the PGA Tour. I don't know if it'll be a fall series, but it'll be somewhere probably in a group of 8 events that'll probably take place throughout the year. Limited field, no cut, if that sounds familiar, with big purses between probably 20, 25 million. That'll be really directed towards your top players. So the PGA Tour, they are acting. They are reacting to what is happening in LIV Golf. And I don't think they really have a choice as they have to treat this as a real threat. I mean, obviously, the amount of money that's being paid towards these players, money talks, and they're jumping. So we'll continue to follow it. Scott Stallings tomorrow. Real quick before we bring in Gup. Yesterday, Sasha McKenzie was on, and that training program, the Stack system, I've had a lot of response from this, which is great. It was a fantastic podcast. Sasha McKenzie is certainly one of the smartest people in the world of golf when it comes to biomechanics. But the Stack training system, it's that speed training. I said 20%, it's 10%. Sorry. It's still a good deal. 10% off if you use the promo code Stripe Show. Capital S Stripe space capital S Show. Stripe Show in the promo code, 10% off. Go get it. The Stack system is really good. I've actually got another one on the way. I'm going to be doing it, and I plan on adding another 10 yards to my driver. All right, there's that. Let's get to the Travelers Championship. Bringing back in one of our favorite guests. It's been a while. Brandon Guptill. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Certainly crazy times for people that cover golf, play golf, or in golf, around golf. Always changing, it seems like. So you got to have your head on a swivel these days.
Man, I live in Ponte Vedra. And, of course, the PGA Tour is here. My wife worked for the tour for 13 years. I ran the PGA Tour Academies for 12 years. So we still know a lot of people, at the PGA Tour. I still do a decent amount of work with the PGA Tour. And, it's crazy times here. This is uncharted territory. There is a, there is a competitor, at the table, whether you like where the money's coming from or whether you don't care. They're spending a lot of it, and they're here. So the PGA Tour is certainly, there's a lot of meetings going on right now, and they're going to have to come to the table, I think, with the counter. And I think they're probably going to start doing that here this afternoon as players continue to jump, and others like Rory, who's in the field, like JT, who's in the field, like Colin did on Twitter, they're digging their feet in a little bit more. They're not going anywhere. They're staying with the PGA Tour. So we'll kind of see how things play out. But, along those lines, Gup, Portland, are you going to do a show for the Live? Are you gonna put out your thoughts for that tournament in conjunction with the PGA Tour?
You know, as of now, I haven't planned to. Obviously, betting's one thing, but would I consider it if DraftKings picked up the product because now you have a strategy and a game and all that? Mm-hmm. Potentially. I don't know if they will because they're partners with the PGA. They'll be interesting to see how that kind of works out. But you know, there's so much unknown on the guys that are at the bottom end of those fields that the numbers shake out crazy on the betting side. So I really, as of now, I'll just be focusing on, you know, and it's a weaker tournament next week, John Deere, mainly because everybody's going over to get ready for the Scottish Open and then the Open. So that's a downside against the PGA next week is it's a pretty weak field. And I don't think they're going to be able to get many big guys to come because guys want to get over and play now that the Scottish is technically a PGA event or a co-event with the DP Tour, that those guys are going to play it, get more FedEx Cup points, all that, and then go play the Open and get acclimated over there. So right now I'm not planning on covering it. You know, things can change. Certainly if they become a DraftKings product, I would think about it just because of the pots it can be, just like anything else. You know, I would look at it, but right now I hadn't heard anything that DraftKings is going to pick it up.
So last week, I know you had Will Zalatoris. That's your boy. You've been telling me about Will Zalatoris for as long as you've been coming on the show, which has been now probably a year and a half. And so I had him too. You know, I had him to win at 25-1, and I was thinking about you on Sunday late. Here comes Will. Let's get this done. I know you got it. Damn it. Couldn't get it to the finish line. Why didn't that putt break to the right? I don't think he would hit that putt any differently. I guarantee you Zalatoris thought he made that putt about 3 feet up. There's no question about it. That thing's going to wiggle right and it's going to go in. He's so close. He is so close, and his putting is getting so much better. And it's going to happen. I mean, okay, let's get the first one. Let's get a win here in the playoffs. Let's get a win here coming up right in the summer in the playoffs, and then he's going to win a major championship. His game is too good. He's just such a incredible ball striker and so poised between the ears. It's going to happen. It would have been a big week for me, Gup, if he would have won. How'd you pan out?
You know, yeah, same. It would have been a monster week. I had him pre-tournament, and then Thursday night they were still 22s out there. You know, because he was back a little bit. Rory was up there, so you know it pushes us. Now I bet I'd released him again Thursday night. I was like, I'm going back to it. You know, might as well. Had him in some doubles with Willie, Rory, really Rahm. So going into Sunday, I felt great, but still nervous. You had Rahm there at -3, Scheffler's there, Fitz is playing. You know, so many big guys up there that you never knew it was going to happen. And then Scheffler comes out on fire. And you're like, oh boy, this thing may be a runaway, and he falls back. Willie makes his charge, and I said on my pod yesterday, I was like, man, I think Willie had his B- game, maybe B+ Sunday. He didn't hit the ball good off the tee, and I think Fitz played about as good as he could, and Willie's got a putt on 18 to tie him. So it wasn't like he choked or anything like that. He just lost to a guy that was on fire and played great. So I was like, it sucks, especially for the bank account. But did all right in DraftKings, but definitely betting wise, it would have been a monster week had he got it at home.
No, it was a great tournament. It was great. No one choked. I mean, Sam Burns, I guess you could say maybe on Sunday he went backwards. That hurt me a little bit, but
I was surprised to see Rahm shoot +5 on Sunday.
Yeah, there you go.
I thought he'd be right there, but other than that, everybody was right there.
Rahm looked like he's looked most of the year on Sunday. Just nothing there, nothing going. I think Morikawa kind of really scrapped it around and just probably overachieved in the way that he played and got the most out of his game, which he does, which is a mark of a great player. I was happy to see Morikawa stay with the PGA Tour. I was shocked when the rumors were hitting late last night and into the morning. I hear Cantlay now, that name out there a little bit. I hear Max Homa. I think it's a matter of time before it's announced with Bubba. Jason Kokrak, who's been on
the biggest young gun I've heard is Hovland. The biggest young gun I've heard is Hovland. No confirmation one way or the other, but that's the one that I've heard the strongest of the young kind of guys that could be on the men to go over there.
And these rumors, like when you hear this stuff type of swirl, and it's out there for a reason, to keep the conversation going. So it's hard to believe all of it. I had a hard time believing the Morikawa one, but at this stage in the climate of what's happening, I'm not sure anything would surprise you. I'm kind of disappointed that we're losing all of our villains, on the
Right.
PGA Tour. I mean, Brooks is big bad Brooks. He's a villain. Bryson and his antics. He's a bit of a villain. Patrick Reed. Gosh. So I don't know. Who knows what the way things look, a year from now, or even 2 months from now, as this fall series goes out in the whole bit. But nonetheless, we have a tournament this week, Travelers Championship. This is a fun one. I've played TPC River Highlands, really fun golf course. A short one of the shortest ones you're going to find in professional golf. Par 70 and bent grass greens. And, look, you're going to see a fair amount of birdies here. Harris English, defending champ. He was 13 under. DJ, he's not in the field. He won it in 2020 at 19. Bubba loves his place. He's won it 3 times. He's not here as he recovers from his surgery, but I think we've seen the last of Bubba on the PGA Tour. He won it back in 2018. Or excuse me, Reevy won it in 19. Ches Reevy, 2019 at 17 under. Bubba was 2018 at 17 under. Spieth won this back in 2017 at 12 under. But it's an interesting list of names. You got Russell Knox and Kevin Streelman and the Duke, Ken Duke, back in 2013. Freddie Jakobsen was one here. I mean, my goodness, this is a fun list to look at and people that have won here. So you've got the bombers, you got the guys that can get it out there, but you got the plotters too. And I like that. When you see a course like this, it feels like there's a kind of a large group population here that can win this event. What are some things you're looking at as you're breaking down TPC River Highlands?
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think this is a much stronger field than they normally see. And it's gotten stronger the way, I don't know if it's the way they changed the schedule, post COVID and all that, but definitely a lot more players come here. And then I think it's always voted up there as one of the, how the players vote on like the best tour that they enjoy, like whatever I think it's always one of the top 3. And so it's attracted some more players, which is nice because especially being after a major, I didn't think we would see as many strong guys here, but the other side of it is most probably don't want to play the John Deere. And so they can play one more PGA Tour, take a week off, head overseas, which is nice. I do like that. There, I agree with the off the tee. I mean, you like to see strong off the tee guys, but last year Harris English wins it. He's not known for being strong. Ches Reevy, those kind of guys. So breaking that down, it's like that overall game. Guys that are coming in with good form is something that seems to be a theme when I'm doing the research. Just overall game in general. Putting matters here always, but the weird thing when you kind of look at some of the stats, some of the guys that have done so well and not really done well on approach is so normally a key for us. English, I think last year 4 of the top 5 either lost on approach or were neutral on it. So it's kind of like people can attack this thing in a different way. I'm really looking at form. I do up top. I kind of like, man, why is Rory here? He's played 3 straight, just brutal tournaments. He's won 1. He finished 5th. He's 18th at Memorial. Same with Scheffler. I would have thought those guys wanted a little rest before the run overseas, but maybe they're just ready. I don't know if it's a deal with trying to get as much talent up on the tour to promote the tour. Or these guys are saying, hey, I want to go play. Roy's had a great history here, never won, but never finished outside top 20. So those kind of storylines interest me, but I definitely kind of like the middle of the board this week with some of the guys that kind of let people down last week. Maybe people are off them, getting some decent numbers, the Sung Jays, the Rileys, the Mitos, stuff like that. Seamus Powers, that's kind of that middle, whether they're talking DraftKings or betting, but betting wise, that middle chunk of the card, because I think you're getting some good numbers because we have a Rory, because we have a Scheffler, JT, those guys are pushing some numbers down that I kind of think you could jumble up 4, 5, 6 of these guys from 30 to 70, 80 and have a good card this week.
Well, let's get into it. I like it. It is a great field here at the Travelers. I mean, there's a lot to sort through with the schedule. I'll go through it briefly here before we get into the players. I mean, next week you mentioned the John Deere Classic. I was actually supposed to go up to that, but I'm not now. And that'll be opposite of the live event out at Pumpkin Ridge, which is a good golf course right outside of Portland. And then you go into the next week, into July, and of course you have the co-sanction event, the Genesis Scottish Open, over in Scotland. And that'll be opposite of the Barbasol Championship in Kentucky. And then you go the Open Championship, of course. Colin Morikawa will defend at St. Andrews. We'll see Tiger. And then in the States, it'll be Barracuda, which will be in California, I believe. Yeah, in California. So, whew. I mean, there's a lot of golf, Gup. Jeez.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna have to come sleep in your hide-a-bed and just talk golf for the next 3 weeks. And just
the run from the U.S. Open to the Open is always kind of one of the big ones. And, you know, then you get into football season, but it's a big 5 weeks coming up.
So speaking of that, you gotta stay awake, right? So look at here. I know you drink coffee. You got a cup right there. I know you.
I do.
Okay,
Yep.
So check this out. So this is my new favorite coffee. Check this out right here. Haymaker. All right.
Uh-huh.
Now, are you a middleweight or are you a heavyweight? You like the dark or the medium roast?
I like the dark roast.
You like the
That's
dark
my
roast?
go-to.
All right. So I'm sending you this stretch right here. I'm sending you the heavyweight dark roast Haymaker.
Nice.
You'll love it.
I'll
On
give
its
it a
way.
try.
You're going to need it for the next 3 weeks. All right. Let's get into it. Travelers Championship. There's Rory, the voice of the PGA Tour. Just couldn't quite get it done. I mean, it's so funny with Rory. Like when you watch him play, it feels like Rory has like 9 lives in a tournament. Like he's out of it. And then all of a sudden he makes birdie, and he's like, wait a minute, he's only 2 back? How's that happen? I mean, the guy just is always right there. Even he's up. There goes Rory. They show him he's on 14. He makes it for birdie and he's only 1 back. Like, how does he only 1 or 2 back? Then he just go bogey. It's amazing. Even when he's not clicking on all cylinders, he's hanging out right there. And his game is close. I mean, he is putting the ball perhaps better than he's ever putted in his entire life. So Rory opens it up at 9-1. There's Scheffler playing great golf as he has all year at 9-1. JT 10-1. Cantlay 14-1. And look at Sammy Burns getting some of that smoke up top there at 18-1. Take me to your favorite or two here in the top 5.
Yeah, it'd probably be Cantlay. I was kind of hoping maybe he drifts a little bit to, you know, a 16 or 18 number. I was a little surprised that he's was favored over like a Xander, things like that. He does have good history here. 4 straight top 15s or better. Showed some form coming home last week. Finished 14th. Irons started to click a little bit. You know, great at bogey avoidance. Has played well. Like I said, really well here. And he tends to kind of like the Bubba type deal. You know, the courses he plays well at, Memorial, all that, he seems to always show up and play well there. If I was going to look at something this low, it would be a Cantlay. Would be my favorite. If I had to go up top, I'd probably, I mean, it's hard to go against Scheffler right now. If I'm going to take one, you know, he did take the Memorial off, so maybe a little more rested than Rory, but my favorite out of those 5 would be Cantlay this week.
I'm going Rory. It's peak Rory right now. And the way he's putting, you know, if the strength of Rory McIlroy is the putter, sign me up. And I just think there's a purpose right now. I've said all along since starting this podcast, there's 2 players that when you get their interest, they're must-watch TV, and I don't think there's anybody better, and that's Rory and DJ. I don't think we have DJ's attention anymore. He's gone. He's taken the money. I think you'll see erosion in his game. But I think you've got Rory's attention right now, and he's playing more than the money. And I think that's really kind of the underlining theme, and that like it matters to Rory more than just the paycheck. And if it matters to Rory and you got his attention, then I know it's 9-1. Like that's not my MO in betting the chalk. But of the 5, top of their line, top of the game, I've got to go with the messaging that I've always had with Rory, and that's when you got his attention, let's get on him at 9-1. So Scheffler, it's been interesting. He, you know, his putter's been a little up and down. We don't get the strokes gain from the putt or from the statistical standpoint with the majors. But outside of that, his putter, you know, he's obviously been finishing right there, clipping off tournaments. But as of late, it hasn't been quite as hot. And you know, JT, obviously his game feels very close. No one's going to be surprised if he goes up there and wins. But of all those players, the putter working, and we know how important it is here, hitting on all cylinders, I think Rory is the best player of those 5. Burns at 18, Burns is always an automatic bet for me. He's got 4 wins now, so thank you for that for Sammy. But 18, that's a little different look, right? You got to think a little differently about a Sam Burns at 18, don't you?
Yeah, especially with not only the guys he's next to, but to me, much more valued behind him that I would, just from a values perspective, I don't separate. I get it. Yeah, he's won a lot and he's played great. But he's now had 2, RBC when he finished it, he finished that struggling, losing off the tee. And he struggled again a little bit with the tee stuff at the Open. I don't know if that, he still finished, 27th. That's something to be mad about for him. But, I would just go down the board to the next level, then hit an 18 on Burns this week.
Let's go to the next level. Spieth at 20. Xander's at 20. Sung Jae, you mentioned 28. Seamus Power, nice week last week at 28. Seems to be a player that's finding his way right now. Keegan Bradley has been playing good golf at 28. We'll stop there. Spieth, I mentioned, won back in 17. T42 in 18, missed the cut in 19. T20 or T54 in 2020. Didn't play last year. Do you trust Spieth? When it's good, it's good, but it still seems like he's in a weird way, still kind of fighting it in one sense.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard. That was the famous bunker shot in the playoff against Berger when he won. That's been shown quite a few times. And he hasn't played well since then. A 42nd, a miscut, and a 54th here. So, I don't know. He's not for me this week. Maybe look at a potential, unless he's popular, DraftKings type deal, but betting wise, no, because I always feel like, I know the rest of his games come around, but for him to win, I got to feel like he's got to be putting at least somewhat, or at least, he's pretty good around the green at times, getting a little lucky sometimes. And that magic hasn't been there. Can it click? Sure. But, not here, not that. I kind of have him on a short early list to kind of think, could he do some of that stuff at St. Andrews? I'd like to see the putter look a little positive this week, and I wouldn't mind, looking at him at St. Andrews, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's tough to. Well, it's tough to back him here. I think I'm gonna pass on Spieth, and you go to Xander. You're kind of getting what you normally get with Xander. Like, he'll run up the leaderboard and, he kind of sees a ghost, then he goes backwards, and that's kind of what you saw last week. And then when he's out of it, he'll put a good number up and he'll run back up there and, he'll finish in the top 20 as he did the last 4 tournaments. I'm not convinced Xander's not going to live. I just feel like he's been one guy in the back of my head when all of this started, in the way they answered the questions. He's the one guy that I feel like I would not be surprised if he signs. Now, I don't know that. That's pure speculation, so don't be tweeting that all out. But I just feel like in the back of my mind that it's still there on the table for Xander for some reason. And I'm probably going to pass him. Seamus Power is an interesting player to me. I like Seamus in what I'm seeing. He finished 12th at the U.S. Open. You go back to the beginning of the year, he was playing some very good golf, kind of hit a bumpy stretch there in the spring. But I feel like he's kind of getting it back together. I know he missed the cut at the Memorial, but he was 9th at the PGA, 12th at the U.S. Open. This is good stuff here, happening from Seamus Power. I think a top 20's in play here for me. Maybe even a top 10 at 240 for Seamus Power. Do you keep the mojo going with Bradley? Keegan Bradley, speaking of finding the putter, we see Willie Z now putting very well. And it's good to see that narrative is starting to go away, that he can putt. It is getting better. We had Josh Gregory on, and we talked about this steady improvement that he's been having with his putter. I think Keegan Bradley is finding some nice form too with the flat stick.
Yeah, I wonder, but again, we're right back kind of around, not Boston, but he's still kind of in that area that you feel like he kind of had his, I want to say is, and he even mentioned it, he mentioned kind of like this was a Super Bowl or World Series type, he felt like a Celtic or a Red Sox in that atmosphere. And is there a little bit of a finish great, didn't win, but super happy, 7th place? Does he have a little bit of a letdown? I would say I would lean more towards betting than doing DraftKings with him this week, because he's probably going to be popular. But if I was going to go anywhere, I'd probably lean on the bet and say maybe he follows up that great finish and runs it into a win this week. That wouldn't shock me at all. But I could see the letdown week as well.
I'm really interested in this next group with you. All right. You got Neiman at 35, HV3 at 35. HV3 says he's not going. Michael Jordan talked to him.
Mm-hmm.
How about that name drop? HV3 is like, yeah, I had a conversation with MJ and I'm not going to go. Okay. Like no one's gonna up that one. Not even Phil. All right. Mito Pereira, my boy, 35. Brian Harmon loves this place. I don't think anybody's played better over the last 5 years than Brian Harmon from a strokes gain standpoint at 40. Davis Riley, he's been knocking on the door, 40-1. Tony Finau, 40-1. Does Koepka play in this? Is Koepka going to play? I mean, is he going to go out there and flex on the first tee, which he wants to do?
My assumption is that it would be a Brooks move to go ahead and play. And from what I understand, the PGA won't suspend or do any of that until someone has teed off in a live tournament, because up until then it's still kind of speculation. I don't know if they're going to change their mind on that and go, if you've personally said you've committed, we're going to go ahead and I don't know all that. If the PGA doesn't do anything to make him not play, I assume he plays this week and tries to get a win going out. That'd be a typical Brooks move based on his personalities. Try to get a win and then leave. Brooks's
form is not good. It's just not. He has not played good. It's funny following Twitter. Twitter is so toxic and not real life that when he signs, and I understand Brooks is not a favorite to many. He's not my favorite. He's not my cup of tea. I think he's arrogant, not confident. And he would tell you he's confident, not arrogant. We'll agree to disagree. But it's funny in Twitter, they can have him. He can't compete anymore on the PGA Tour anyway. It's like, whoa, let's pump the brakes a little bit. I'm not ready to write off Brooks Koepka not getting it back together and winning on the PGA Tour. We're not going to have to worry about that. He's going to go to the Live, so this could be very well his last event on the PGA Tour. But regardless of that discussion, I'm not playing Brooks. He's just kind of all over the place. His ball striking's been a mess. It's kind of been a mess too since he left Claude Harmon. And I know Pete Cowan's out there standing next to him, working on a short game, but he seems to be looking at his swing too. And let me tell you something, Brooks Koepka's kind of gone a little wrong way when it comes to his overall ball striking, and I think it's kind of led into some of the other parts of his game. I think Mito, I think you got to get back on Mito at some point. There's a little bit of a hangover there with the PGA, but he's just too damn good, man. I like Mito Pereira. Does he get back on the horse this week? 35-1, you think? Right there, first page, chance to win, perhaps?
Yeah, so I have, depending on what book you're using or looking, there's 3 or 4. This kind of that money zone I kind of started the pod with is I love Mito. Had him last week. The +4 cut really, really hurt with him and Cam Young. I was big on Cam Young last week. Talk about a roller coaster back 9. At one point, +8, we think, and then it turns to +9 because a score was put down wrong. And then he goes, birdie, hole in one, birdie to try to make the cut. But I go back in Riley. I had all those guys at the PGA Championship. I had a tremendous PGA Championship, finished 7th in the Millie Maker. Wow. I'm not getting off any of those guys. I got Mito. I got Riley right there at 40 on one. I got Sungjae at 33, and then HV3 I've seen him as high as 50. All 4 of those guys may make my card. They're all strong possibilities. I like all 4 of those right there. And I do like that HV3. I kind of felt, I was like, I wonder if this just lets, releases some of that stress or internal that you've been dealing with, trying to, am I going to go? Am I going to go? And then now if he has clearly made the decision, it seems that way, and he's all in, does that let him free up a little bit? I think the course fits his game. I think he's playing well, that he could be in play here too.
Mito's a ball striking machine, folks. I mean,
Yep.
he is a ball striking machine. His putter has been chilly, really right before the PGA. Then he had the great PGA week, plus 5.5, and then it's been chilly since. So can he get that back on? But his ball striking is so good. I think I'll get back on Mito this week too. I like that. Speaking of ball striking, this has been a pretty incredible run for Davis Riley. You want to talk about incredible growth, and particularly with the irons. Really good stuff. Works with Jeff Smith. They have found something, and that has been the key to his game. Davis Riley is a nice putter too. I feel like it's going to come to an end here eventually, like this run a little. But I think I'm going to ride it out again, at least with the top 20. I might even entertain it to win with Davis Riley. We've seen some signs from Finau. Is it too much of a putting contest, you think, for Tony here? And happened to make too many? But you saw it last week, didn't you? Some of the short putts, just like, when you watch Finau, it's like, oh, there it is. That's why he is who he is.
Finishes bogey to miss the cut. That was another. So those three, Cam Young, Finau, and Mito, were in my core last week. So it was definitely a tough week on that end. But they're all right there. Tony's probably my least of these guys because he's missed 3 straight cuts here. Now, he back in 2016-17 did okay, made the cut, top 25, but 19, 20, 21, miscut. I don't know, how much you put into that or not. He's on a good run, 4th at the Charles Schwab, 2nd at RBC. Out of all those we talked about, he'd be my least right now, and probably not going to make a betting card for me. I'd go to any of those other guys right now.
Yeah. So your favorites there, you like HV3.
And if I was going to go favorites, it'd be Mito and Riley. I'd go back to them.
Riley. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're in agreement.
I think HV3 and Sung Jae are kind of on the fence for me too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're in agreement there on Mito and Riley. Excellent. Yeah, I like that. I'll probably pass on Finau, pass on Koepka. Fleetwood's at 40. Leishman's won here. He's at 50. I'm probably going to get back on Aaron Wise. I like the growth I'm seeing from Aaron Wise at 50. Brendan Steele, 65. Denny McCarthy, great week last week, 65. The Zedenhout
this week. I've seen a lot of bets on him already.
Yeah, I'm sure. The Zedenhout, 65. Keith Mitchell, 65. Cameron Tringali starting to piece some things together, 65. Good to see a healthy Webb, 70. There's KH Lee, 75. It's a TPC. Why not? He tends to like that. I'm happy to see Aaron Wise doing some nice things. Jeff Smith's on a nice run. Top teacher there out of Tennessee. Doing some good things with these guys. Aaron Wise can heat it up with his irons. And his putting is really good right now, too. He is on a bit of a heater here if you look. Now, I don't know exactly what it was at the U.S. Open, but it had to be decent. Before that, the 2 events before the U.S. Open, the Memorial and the PGA, he gained just under 5. So this long putter, I think, has settled in, and he's a damn near, he's for sure a good enough ball striker. So one of my favorite bets this week, I'm going with Aaron Wise at 50-1. I like that. I'm not gonna. McCarthy looked like he just put it all on the table last week. Man, he was grinding to the end, wasn't he? Just that all the way to the 72nd holes, balls up again in the grass there by the bunker, and it pops up, and he's slamming his club. He was just in it to win it to the end with McCarthy, who's probably certainly the best putter in the field. And I'm gonna roll with Webb. I think Webb's on his way back. I think Wise and Webb are my 2 here. I think Webb's putting the pieces back together. He's healthy. Get to a course that's under 7,000 yards. So yeah.
Webb was one I hadn't marked down to ask you about. I know you have a little closer ties there, so I was interested to see, because I kind of liked him last week. Thinking the same thing, getting him out of value, getting him, and he missed the cut, but was right there. He just had a bad, I think, back 9. Had like 3 or 4 bogeys coming in. He looked like he was going to make it, but I had him kind of penciled to see what you said about him. One guy that I would point out, we'll probably get to it a little later, but most books already have him moved down, and I like this week, is Siwoo Kim. most have them around 60 to 65. And I know the book you're looking at, which I am too, has them at 100. So I like him, and I think that number may move. So if you do want to point that out, because he would be in this range normally. I had him marked for this range that I like, and I think that's a great number for. And he's a Pete Dye specialist, so
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I agree with you, Webb. In that range, I had Siwoo in there because I had him at the consensus had him around 65. And then I don't know, did we get to on your level? Did you get the KH Lee? Because I kind of like KH Lee.
Yeah. I mentioned it. He's at 75 as I see him right now. Yeah, I had KH Lee circled as well. Yeah, I think KH is certainly worth a look here. I have him as a top 20. I don't have him as a win. I played Webb to win, but I like KH. Yep.
So those will be mine.
There's another guy. I mean, just to answer your question on Webb. So I talked with his caddy a couple weeks ago, and he's healthy. He's 100%, needs reps, and I think we've got the reps now, right? And I think the difference in making the cut last week and not was very, very small for Webb. That was a big ballpark for him. I played him as a top 20, and he just missed the cut. So, but I think if you're talking to them, they're very optimistic on where things are at, and so. Now you go to this course, 68.5. I think this is the perfect place. So to see a top 20, maybe even a win, getting contention, first page, it's been a while. So I like it. I like KH. And I think with KH, the thing to understand with KH is that, and this is another one of those stories, works with a teacher, great success, get a win, and then all of a sudden they feel like they got to do something different, leaves, shit hits the fan,
right?
And they comes back, they get back on track, wins again. I mean, it's like, and I had his coach Chris Grayson on, and I told Chris, I said, look, if KH leaves you again, I'm going to personally come out there and beat his ass because what is he doing? Right. I mean, like it doesn't make sense, but it happens so often, and I'm kidding, of course, but it's just that those kinds of things happen and they have value. I mean, obviously he comes back, they get the game plan established again. Chris is, Chris doesn't have all the answers. He's a great coach, but he knows KH, right? Very well. Get him back on track. Off he goes. Does it again. So yeah, I think KH has got a lot of confidence right now. I think it's a good play. I really do. I think he's got a lot of confidence.
You may kind of sold me on Wise a little bit. I've never been a Wise truther, but he did gain putting at the U.S. Open. The U.S. they don't provide them per se, like in a data form, but there is a bucket on the actual U.S. website that gives the major 5 stats, and he did gain again at the U.S. Open. So that's another good thing to see. Similar greens we'll see this week, same as last week.
I think Aaron Wise got a lot of confidence right now. I really do. Yep. Yeah, I think he's got a lot of confidence. I think he's ready to win. I think Aaron Wise is ready to win one. He's got that formula of great ball striking. Now he just needs to make enough putts, and he has been, so he's riding that. And this could be a good place for him there. There's McNeely, 80-1. He's a guy that is gaining a lot of popularity. You like McNeely here. Mackenzie Hughes, 80. Kokrak, 80. Jason Day, 80. Joel Damon ran up the leaderboard last week. He's at 100. Harris English, defending champ, 100-1. Siwoo, 100. Kisner, 100. Todd, 100. A list. So you like Mav?
Yep.
Where else? Anybody
these
else?
numbers, I'd be Siwoo. Yeah, I'd take Siwoo at 100 for sure.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep. And McNeely, those are my top 2 right here. English feels like trap bait a little bit, defending champ. He did show some form, finally made the cut last week. He's coming off the injury. I think it's his second start from the injury. Didn't do a whole lot on the weekend, finished 61st, but yeah, it's a good number. But I think if I was going head to head, I'd take Siwoo at 100 over English here at the Pete Dye track. And then McNeely's, it's actually one of my, it'll be on my card at 80. So McNeely's my favorite in this area.
Kisner's playing like he's going to the Live. Missed 5 straight cuts.
He struggled. You would think this track, I mean, he's finished top 15 2 of the last 3 years. If he doesn't do well this week, you kind of got to think, what's going on with him, because this is his cup of tea.
I'm surprised he hadn't went to live, to be honest. I thought Kisner would go before Hudson Swafford.
Just because he's always mentioned the paycheck type stuff.
I mean, just
I don't know how the pension and all that stuff. I mean, he's a veteran. I don't know all that background stuff, but I don't know how much that factors into. Do they lose all that? Is it what happens type of deal? So I don't know if that would he's a guy like that. If that keeps him, I have no idea. One thing I was ask you, I had a note on it. Do you think guys that are teaching or coaching these, so like Brooks player now or whoever, when they go over, do you think those guys are going to say, I'm not going to coach you no more? I mean, because it would impact these guys if they go, I just lost my coach and my teacher and everything, because those guys want to work with PGA guys. I don't know, you obviously much more. That was my one question I had written down about the whole live was do those coaches and stuff like that, are they just going to bail on their guys, which is money to them? They're obviously getting paid to do it with those players, and they just go try to find another player, or how do you see that playing out?
No, I think they go. I think it makes their life more difficult, though, because usually they have, when you elect to live that life, you have to go all in for the most part. I mean, you're on the road with them. So they're probably going to have, a player or two on the live and a player on the regular. It's going to make their life more difficult. Gotcha. So, but I think they go for sure. And I think Kokrak's going to make the jump here soon. I don't know that. He's been on the pod a couple of times. He was very open with us, even in the early days, about and he's playing like it. He's not. Kokrak has no form right now. So it just makes you think. These guys. There's a lot going on here on their mind. Obviously, Brooks hasn't played well, and you saw how Phil played.
The biggest thing I've heard with guys like Kokrak was because of how high up they are in the FedEx Cup, they don't want to go play live because they want to try to get in that final 30 in the playoffs and have a chance at that money. And so he's 36th in FedEx, and so I've been told that's the reason why he's not going to play until the FedEx is over, because he wants to get up as much. I mean, it's guaranteed money too, and he's definitely. I listened to him on y'all's pod. He's definitely said I'm trying to set my family up. So if he's 36 in the FedEx, one win, and he's almost, he'll be inside the top 30. But if a couple good string together, a good run, he's going to have a good chance to make that final 30 and that guaranteed money, and then maybe bounce. I don't know. Like you said, it's all speculation on our end, but that's what I've heard about a few of those guys that are high up, not going right now. Yeah,
but I think the live is just making that all go away with the guaranteed money.
Oh, right. Yeah, you would think so, right? It sounds like there's a lot more money. Yeah.
So these guys are doing the calculations. They lose sponsors. That's worth X. They lose this amount in opportunity cost. And then the number is this. All right, here's our number, guys. And can live get to it and guaranteed? And, they're meeting that number for most. I think Bryson was 135 million. I think Brooks is 150. I think half of that's guaranteed, up front. And then they have to earn the other half over, the next 2 or 3 years. That's what I've been told. I haven't seen that in writing, but
right.
They're making all of that worthwhile.
Sure.
DJ leaving RBC, what's that worth? There might be some legal stuff. What's that worth? So I guess when you have endless pockets, you could just, you can just do all this. But it is interesting watching some of these guys that have been linked, the way they're playing, like Kokrak, like Brooks.
Answer wasn't playing great either.
Abraham Answer wasn't playing great. Yep. Damon feels a little. Oh boy, I don't know. I don't know if I can get there with Damon this week. I don't think I can get there with Harris. I think make some interesting points on Siwoo as we continue to go down. How low can we go? Luke List, seems a little disrespectful, doesn't it? 130-1. Troy Merritt, 130. CT Pond tends to like these shorter courses where he'll pop at 130. Ryan Palmer.
Pan's on my list for like a top 20 type bet. I like that number. But one of my favorite bets of the whole board is right here, and I don't know if he moved on Cam Davis.
Oh,
love. I had him at 130. I was trying to see where he was at on this one. Is he lower than 130? Yeah, he's 150 on here. Love Cam Davis. Yeah, I think his profile is a little bit like, one of my better weeks this year was RBC Heritage, and a lot of people didn't want to play Cam Young or Cam Davis because they said big hitters. This is a short course, all that. And I was like, we don't know that because we hadn't seen them in a whole lot. They're both younger guys, and I played both of them. They both finished great at RBC Heritage. So I like Cam Davis this week. He's been playing pretty well. He's a boomer bust guy. He can definitely miss the cut, but he can score. And if he's in there, he putts well in these type of greens. For that number, I definitely like him, even if it's just a top 20. But I may even throw him as an outright.
Wow. Yeah, there's some interesting names here in the 150 range, right? Like guys that, like you said, kind of a boomer bust. Right. I mean, even Vegas at 150. Gosh, I mean, you pretty much can guarantee you'll be tied for fourth after the first round. Naismith played well last week. And Naismith's starting to find a little form of this putter.
Yep.
In full transparency, he left Marcus Potter, who just texted me, who's at the event right now. I'm going to read his text on air, folks, because he's standing on the green at TPC River Highlands. This is very strange. This is how the world works. Marcus Potter was Matthew Naismith's longtime putting coach, who works here in the studio, and now Naismith switched and is finding some form. But he says, Marcus, greens are rolling out this week. Hopefully we don't get too much rain tomorrow. Rough is thick in patches. Overall, it's in great shape. Really good field. Could see a lot of different players winning this week. Kind of what we just said. I don't think the rough's going to be thick in patches. I wouldn't put too much into that. The rough's usually not too much of an issue here. And yeah, that rain, if it's soft, Gup.
Yeah.
If it's soft, we're going low.
It's in the forecast. Yeah. Only for Wednesday, Thursday. Hopefully. That's something I'm keying on over the next 24 hours is how much are they going to get? Are they going to get any? Because Thursday could set up to be they put a low number out there. Then it's gone the rest of the week. So at least, I think it'll dry out some by Sunday. I think it'll play a little bit different early in the week all the way to Sunday.
Don't you think it's less of an advantage for your great ball strikers though, when it's soft like that?
Yeah, especially if it winds up being so soft, they do lift clean place. I think that it changes the tournament. And sometimes when you put ball in hand to some guys, it makes a huge difference in their ability, their confidence, and being able to place that ball in the ground. Right? People don't play a lot; they may not understand that, but it definitely is a huge advantage to when. And these guys are you're splitting hairs on how good they are because they're all great, but there's some guys that that's a big advantage to them, and it does lessen your higher up guys that don't have that. They can't get that much more of advantage over the field.
Yep. Absolutely. Just kind of continuing to work through here on these 150 to 1.
I had two bombs. One of them withdrew, which was Patrick Rogers. I play him a lot, and he burns me a lot. But man, him and I have been on the right track. He did me well last week. He did fall off on Sunday, but he's had a good run. One miscut in like last 6 or 7 tournaments. I was going to be on him. He withdrew after his good finish. And then Alex Smalley's a guy I've been playing for a while, the grinder out of Duke, 2 top 27s in the last 3 tournaments, RBC and Charles Schwab. He's not flashing anything yet. I like these kids, and Willie Z, Tagali, those kind of guys. I watch a lot of college golf and that, and I just look at pedigree, and I like his pedigree, and I think, do I bet him to win? Maybe not, but that top 40, for a guy like that, I don't mind that kind of deal. And definitely DraftKings wise, he's a guy that I have my eyes on at $7,000.
I play that a lot too. I think he's got a high ceiling. You can see it. Pedigree, Smalley. I like Smotherman too. Those are 2 guys I find myself playing, make the cut. Even Adam Svensson, who I played the top 20, 2 weeks ago, and he finished 21st. That was nice. So those are my
Yeah. So then my boy, who's I thought he was going to kind of go on a radar, but he's been talked about a lot more in the last 2 weeks than I ever thought he would. But Oklahoma boy got her up. He's 300 to 1 this week. I'm not necessarily going there, but really good top 20 and top 40 numbers. I think I got top 20 at 11 to 1. So that's a guy that, again, he was a Haskins Award winner this year. Pedigree's there. Putter struggled these first 2 tournaments he's been in, but approach and ball striking was good last week and finished. I don't know what he flirted up there for a while. Had a good Sunday going, but made the cut. That's a guy. if you get a 5-1 or something like that at a 40-1 number, he's a young college, just out of college that I do like. And obviously I know him a little bit more than these other guys, but I like him at a
nice kid too. He was on the podcast, had him on with this coach, Jason Birnbaum, and he just, looks like he's a good head on his shoulders, long hitter.
Yep.
And, I look, high upside, right? You got big ceiling there. Certainly can see him making the cut, maybe making a run up there. There's Fowler. He's playing like he's going to, he's playing like he's going there too. Fowler's had some success here. We know he's a little different Ricky Fowler, though. I'm surprised Fowler hasn't signed already. It's like, come on, man.
I'm surprised to see him here.
I was too. Yeah, you start getting down to it's the same conversation in my head, like I look at these bottom numbers a lot, and I find myself going to the upside. I mean, there's Russell Knox. He's one here. He's 200-1. If you're looking for that, horses for courses, can Russell Knox do enough with the putter to perhaps get you a top 20? There's Reevy, another former winner, 180-1. Cam Davis, boomer bust, 150-1. I do like. I probably will play Smalley. We're on the same page there. I tend to be a little bit of a Wyndham Clark homer at times. We've seen him. I just feel like he's got a tall ceiling. Keep the emotions in check. Smalley, I like. Stallings, 200-1. He'll be on the podcast tomorrow. And gosh, I don't know if I can go much lower than that. There's my boy Svensson. Callum Tarrant, nice week last week. Make the cut at the U.S. Open. And there's Goddard up 300-1. Wow. All right, Patrick Flavin, he made the cut again. Big surprise, Monday qualifier.
Yeah, I saw him Monday Q again. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What is that, like 4 just right now that he's made?
That's a lot. Yeah, and he's done all right. He's just grinding it out.
It's amazing. What a life. Monday qualify. You make it that many times. Incredible. All right, some good stuff there going down. Good field here. Travelers Championship, TPC River Highlands. Hopefully we shed some light on some of the guys that you're thinking about this week, or maybe not thinking about this week. It's always interesting to talk it out. I always, talking with you, I'm always turned on to a couple players, and then just, interested to get your thoughts on a player that I'm on the fence with, or so it kind of helps make the decision. But I think all these guys are playing for second place. I think Rory's going to win by 5 this week.
Wow. That'd be impressive.
Let's just have
it. Wouldn't shock me, but by no means, he's playing good.
His putter's so good. I mean, he is putting the lights out. And let's just say Rory's driver just takes over, right? Let's just say he just takes over, driver, wedge, putter, and he just routes the field. Like, there's not many that can do that, and he's one. But you always think with Rory, it's like, well, can he make enough? Well, no one's putting better than Rory McIlroy right now. I mean, he's making everything. Yep. I'd love to see it, but if not, I'll take a Seamus Power win. I'll take that, and if not Seamus, I'll take a Webb. Webb's not going. Webb's not going to the Live.
No, I wouldn't think so. Yeah, I wouldn't. I like Mito. I think he's.
And Mito. I'm sorry. Yeah, Mito's too. Yep, I got Mito.
Yeah, I like Mito and Riley up there, and then my hype guy. Yeah, I still stick with Cantley. I don't know if I'm going to get the number I want to get to him, but I definitely I like him this week as well.
I mean, are you surprised the rumors around Cantley? I mean, he doesn't go, does he?
Well, if he does, I almost think that's a tag team with him and Xander. I mean, they're super close, wives, and they do everything together. So that would be the only. I mean, I think that's almost a tag team deal. If you see one of them go, I'd imagine the others, just how close they are, and they didn't document it, that would be a twofer type deal. So those two would be interesting to watch, see what goes on. My gut says no, but man, who knows?
Wow. That would be a Xander Cantlay combo that would be striking.
Yep.
At this point. I think, look, the tour is going to get a beating for, we'll finish with this, but the tour is going to get a beating, right? For them. Now they're reacting. They should have done this before. Like everybody's got the answers, right? Like, yeah, you guys should have done this before. I saw Trey Wingo tweet that. I was like, come on, Trey. I mean, really? But look, they got to do something. Like, I think you got to swallow your pride. You got to swallow your pride, and you got to react to what the players are wanting, I guess, which is more money to the top players. And you got to protect as many as you have yet. They haven't got a top 10 player yet. So I think it's 13, 14, 18, 19, I think is where it's at right now. I think Louis like 18, DJ Brooks, 13, 14, 12, 13, somewhere in there. So, now you throw this out there. All right. So, there's something to look forward to there, and we're going to massage that, and we're not quite sure where it's going to be yet. And you still got that chain, the other events in the fall, the feeder system. And, but now there's that bigger prize out there with more money for the top players, which I guess it is fair to say, and I've said this a couple times, is that, throwing a little more money to your top players, I think, is a good thing. And I know that there's more money that could come underneath to help the Korn Ferry Tour and that. But at the end of the day, the tour is going to market with 12 to 14 players and their faces and their names. And I think now padding that is the right thing to do, even if it does feel a bit reactionary.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think the biggest concern long-term would be the feeder systems, because if, how hard it is to grind through Korn Ferry or trying to, like we just talked about Monday Q and all that. And if you got these studs coming out of college and they can get 4 or 5 million guaranteed, it's nothing like Brooks and all that, but it'll take them a while to earn that on the tour. Some not. You got your occasional Speed, Willie Z type guys, but that's the very, very few amount of people that can come out like that. And so, that's where it's going to be interesting to see is these high end college guys or really, really good young players go, well, heck, if you can give me 30 million, it'd take me forever to win that on PGA Tour. Why wouldn't I go? And so that's where I'm interested to kind of see where it goes.
Yep. All right, Gup, good stuff. Follow him at Gup_GC. You're the man. Best of luck this week. We'll do it again.
You too, sir. I appreciate it.